The Singing Chef. Today I've got a super simple lunch or supper for you. I'm going to make my version of a Caesar salad with a small fillet of sauteed salmon. Now I love salmon, it's one of my favorite fishes, and it's super simple, quick and easy to saute in a pan and you are good to go for your main course. But I'm going to put it today over my version of a Caesar salad. Now the first thing we've got to do is make a Caesar dressing. So let's get going with that. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mince 2 small cloves of garlic. Pretty small mince for sure on this because nobody wants just a mouthful of a giant hunk of garlic. So let's get all the peel off. Put that to the side. Crush it down pretty good. Mince across. Get rid of the root. Come back across the other direction. As small as you can. Go back through 2 or 3 times to make sure you get a really thin mince on your garlic. That's 1 clove. Let's get this up. Smash it up to peel it. Pull all that peel off. Put that to the side. Then just run your knife through. Down to the root, keeping your fingers curled under so they don't get chopped into the dressing. And then go back the other direction through what you've already minced 2 or 3 times. And like I said, just to make sure you've got a really fine mince, I'm going to put all that together, and I'm going to take just a little bit of salt. This is pretty coarse salt right over the top of my pile of garlic. Then I'm just going to mash my knife into the pile and run my knife through again. Those crystals of salt are going to help me crush that garlic even finer. Nice. All right, so that is our 2 small cloves of garlic, and that is going directly into my bowl where I'm going to make my dressing. Don't waste any now. Get all that garlic in there. You really want it to be a fine mince because, I mean, raw garlic, that's pretty pungent, so you want to make sure you take care of that off the bat. Now this is a mayonnaise-based dressing, so I have a cup of my favorite mayonnaise. Yes, mayonnaise matters. You've got to have a good tasting mayonnaise. This is Duke's. They don't pay me to say that, but I think it's the best. So put that into my bowl. That's a full cup of mayo. Shake it off my whisk. Scrape everything out of this little cup measure. The bowl. Now, the next thing I need is I'm going to take the zest and juice of 1 lemon. So I'm going to roll this puppy to get the juices going. And then the first thing I'm going to do is get some zest. All right. So I'm just turning my zester over to capture all the zest up in the top side. There's so much flavor in lemon zest, so I don't want to waste any of that. Just maybe a teaspoon of zest is enough. Tap, tap, tap. All that goes in the bowl. Then I'm just going to take my knife, cut through, squeeze out a good, I'd say, tablespoon to 2 of that lemon juice into the mix. And that is all I have to do with that. All right. Now, a lot of times people are turned off by making their own homemade Caesar dressing because most Caesar dressings have anchovies in them. Anchovies is not an ingredient that I keep in my house at all times because the only thing I can think to do with them would be to make a Caesar dressing, and I don't eat Caesar salads every day of my life. So anchovies are not a thing in my kitchen. A great substitute for the flavor and umami that anchovy gives to a Caesar dressing is Worcestershire sauce. Most Caesar dressings already have about a teaspoon or so of Worcestershire. I'm gonna double down on that to add some more flavor and put about 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire. There's 1 and 2 to add what would represent the anchovy, yeah? Then I have some Dijon mustard. This is stone ground. You could use non-stone ground. I just like that. So again, just about a teaspoon of the Dijon mustard into the mix. Lastly, we're gonna put a little bit of salt, a little bit of black pepper, and then about a 1/4 cup or so of grated parmesan. That looks like about a 1/4 cup. And that is it. It's that simple. And all you do is whisk all of that together. The lemon juice and the Worcestershire is going to loosen up that mayo into this beautiful, creamy Caesar dressing for your salad. I've got a few spoons here to taste because you're going to adjust your seasoning to taste. I think it needs just a squeeze more of lemon juice. There we go. Then let's whisk that in. And I think it also needs another pinch of black pepper. So I'm going to put that in too. Whisk, 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 whisk. Spoon. Oh yeah. Maybe 1 more pinch of black pepper. And that will do it. I'll show you what this dressing looks like. Really simple, creamy Caesar dressing. Now, I have got a little salad dressing dispenser here. It's not imperative that you have this, but this is what, that way I'm able to keep what's left over in the fridge that I don't use today in my salad. So I'm just gonna get all of this in this salad dispenser. Be patient, it will all go in. This Caesar dressing, fresh, will last you for, I don't know, a week or so in the fridge. So this is the perfect amount to me to serve for a dinner party between 4 and 6 people. This would definitely cover 4 to 6, just, you know, Caesar salads as your salad course. Or it gives you the option of 4 to 6 salads during the week to use for yourself. All right, so that goes into this little container. Should be pretty whisked together. You can always, when you take it out of the fridge, shake it up a little bit to just get everything nice and mixed together. All right, now I'm gonna clean up my station a little bit and then I'm gonna get my salmon going and I'll be right back. Hey y'all, we are back. So I've got my station cleaned up. I've got my salad dressing for my Caesar salad on the ready over here. And now I'm gonna work on a small fillet of salmon to go with my salad. Now, the other thing that I love about salmon, besides the flavor of the fish itself, is that it's pretty inexpensive. I can go to my local grocery store in the seafood section, and I can typically find a fillet of salmon that's about the right size for a simple lunch or dinner for $5 or $6 for a fillet. So you just can't really beat that. And you would go to a restaurant and pay way more than that for a fillet of salmon. So why not make it at home, right? All right, so I've got this beautiful, lovely orangish pink salmon-y color. I love that so much. This is gonna be the simplest version of a sauteed fish that you've ever made. But I don't think you should cover up the salmon with lots of like marinades and stuff. I don't go for that. I just think a really nice simple salt, pepper, and then some Old Bay seasoning is the way to go. I just love that this seasoning that's typically used for seafood of lots of sorts, I think it just adds a little bit of kick to the flavor of the salmon. So all I'm gonna do is drizzle right here on my board a little bit of olive oil over the top of the filet. Then I'm gonna put a pinch of salt, a pinch of black pepper right on top, and then just a little sprinkle of Old Bay right over the top. Then in my pan, which I've got over sort of a medium-high heat, I'm gonna put a little bit of olive oil in the pan. Not much, does not take a lot. And you've already got a little bit of oil there drizzled on the fish. Then the side that I'm seasoned, I'm just gonna put it directly down on the pan. That's the top side. You should hear that sizzle. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Crowd goes wild. All right, while that side is going, I'm gonna take another drizzle of olive oil, not much, over the top of the filet, and season the other side and let it hang out. Already seasoned and ready to flip when we get to that point. It does not take a lot of time for a small filet like this to cook, so keep an eye on it. The other cool thing about salmon is it kind of lets you know how it's going as far as the cooking goes, okay? If you put it on this sort of medium to medium-high heat, you'll see the flesh of the salmon start creeping up as it's getting cooked into a lighter color. And that kind of tells you kind of where you are. Once it reaches kind of the almost halfway point, that's when I usually flip my salmon and then cook the rest of the way through. I'm gonna keep an eye on it because again, depending on how high the heat is, I don't want the top side to get too done and crispy. So I'm just gonna be careful with that. While that's going, let's start to dress our Caesar salad, okay? Now, this is a restaurant trick, hack. You don't ever wonder why in a Caesar salad, they seem to have dressing on every single piece of the salad. Well, that's because they usually dress their salad like this. They don't put the lettuce in the bowl first. The first thing they're gonna do is put the dressing all around. That's the reason I use this little dispenser, but you could use a spoon. All around the edge of the bowl. You're gonna let this pour and drip all around the sides and bottom of this large mixing bowl. It's pretty thick dressing, so it may take you a little bit. I've got that much in the bowl at this point. And then I just take some hearts of romaine I got from the store, pop enough in from my version of the salad for just little old me. The salmon's doing great. And then all I do is I'm going to add a little bit of parm to get that in, some salt, and some pepper. And then I just take a large spoon and I stir that salad around. And as it hits the side of the bowl, it picks up the dressing. And it gets on every single leaf of your Caesar. And you still got a ton of dressing left in that dispenser because you really just had all those dollops around the thing, right? The salmon, I think, is ready to flip. Give that a turn. Yeah. On that top side, I kind of want a crispy top to it. But the other side, I'm not going to cook for nearly as long. I'm turn down the heat just a skosh as that continues to cook through. All right, so now that salad is fully dressed. Without a smile. Sorry, anyway, so let's start to plate up. I have salad right here. Now I'm going to pour out all of that goodness onto my plate. Just like that. My salmon is almost done. Leave it in there for one more minute. Now, here's why I say this is my version of the Caesar salad. you're like, Bradley, that's just lettuce and a dressing. So, two of my favorite Caesar salads of all time come from two of my favorite restaurants of all time. One is from Nashville, Tennessee, which is where I went to college and where I grew up. There was a beautiful restaurant there in Hillsborough Village called Sunset Grill. And on their Caesar salad, they served it with sun-dried tomatoes on the salad. Now, I know sun-dried tomatoes are kind of like an 80s and 90s thing, but first of all, I went to college in the 90s, so it was okay then. I'm just going to just to remind myself of that food memory, a few little sun-dried tomatoes that are julienne cut, and just for that little pop of acid from those tomatoes, I think it's a perfect topping for a Caesar salad. The second restaurant that's one of my favorites. My parents and I have gone on vacation every year of my life since I was 2 years old to Clearwater, Florida. And in the Clearwater, Indian Rocks meets Largo area, there's a great restaurant called Guppy's. And on top of their Caesar, which they serve with every meal, they put these crispy, crunchy, multicolored tortilla strips that my dad asks for extra of every time because texture is everything, right? And look at that color, that is gorgeous. So a combination of my two favorite toppings for a Caesar, and just like that, my salmon is done. I'm gonna put that filet right there on the side, take that off the heat. A little last finish drizzle of olive oil over the top of my fish. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is perfect. Look at it. I mean, come on. Who doesn't want that for lunch? Oh my gosh. So I've got to try this. Let's see how we did. Let's grab just a touch of this salmon first. That's plenty of time for that to cook. It is flaky and beautiful. Gotta have a little taste of the salad too. Gonna get some of that tomato, a tortilla chip, and a piece of lettuce on my fork. Come on. There's so much flavor in that dressing. The hit of lemon from the zest and the lemon juice, that acid, against that umami, salty, savory flavor of both the Worcestershire sauce that's subbing for those anchovies. No anchovies necessary. This is good without it. And that parmesan cheese, this is everything. I hope you will make this really, really easy and simple lunch or dinner anytime. This dressing is going to be your favorite, and you saw how quick it was to put together. I know picking up a bottle is just as quick, but trust me, this tastes so much better, and there is no crazy preservatives or anything in it. It's nice and fresh, and you and your family and your friends are worth it, right? Thank you so much for joining me on Bradley the Singing Chef. I hope you'll try this recipe. I hope you'll share and like this video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Bradley the Singing Chef. As always, enjoy your life, eat well, love always. Bon appetit, y'all.